Hello, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome to MIT Sloan Alumni Online, where we bring you the latest breaking news, cutting-edge research, groundbreaking ideas, and school updates from MIT Sloan faculty, staff, and alumni. Today, we have Bryn Panee Burkhart joining us from the MIT Sloan Career Development Office. Bryn is the Senior Associate Director of Alumni Career Development here at MIT Sloan. She provides career guidance and coaching to MIT Sloan graduates related to job search strategy, positioning on resumes, cover letters and LinkedIn, intelligent networking, interviewing, and salary negotiation. 20 years of experience in international and graduate education, Bryn has successfully worked with thousands of MBA students at leading graduate business schools. She held roles in MBA admissions and program management before joining MIT Sloan in 2006 to lead the Career Office's Employer Relations team. In 2012, she became MIT Sloan's dedicated alumni career coach. Bryn finds great purpose in helping people clarify their strengths and goals, cultivate their professional brand, and position themselves to manage their careers successfully. Considers it a privilege to work with a diverse range of business professionals at varying stages of their careers. Bryn holds a BA in journalism from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and an Ed.M. in higher education from Harvard University's Graduate School of Education. She received her executive coaching certification from the ICF accredited Coactive Training Institute and is also certified in StrengthsFinder, MBTI, and the Predictive Index Assessment tools. Bryn, we're excited to have you back on the program and to share your knowledge with us. I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be with you today. Happy New Year. Happy 2020. So as we begin a new decade, I thought it would be worth doing a refresh of my original LinkedIn webinar from 2018, because as I'm sure you're all aware, LinkedIn is constantly evolving and changing its platform and user experience. So today I'm going to give you the latest and greatest on how to best optimize your profile and position yourself from a place of strength. The bulk of my presentation will be on that, but I've also made time at the end to squeeze in a few key features to highlight on LinkedIn that will help you use the platform more effectively. Okay, so let me just set the stage for what I'm going to talk about. If you have watched any of my prior webinars, you're probably aware that I always talk about this. I am a proponent of intentional career management. That is, as I said earlier, positioning yourself from a place of strength. So rather than being reactive or passive, which is how the majority of people make career moves and decisions, I want you to be purposeful about the decisions you make and to be confident about how you position yourself and talk about yourself, not only in person, but also on your resume and online via LinkedIn. Now, you might be saying, okay, that sounds good, but how do I do that? So first of all, I do want to recommend that if you haven't already done so, you take a look at my first career webinar, which was called Navigating Your Career at Any Age and Stage. I strongly suggest that you work through the framework I present there before you tackle your LinkedIn profile. That webinar really helps you define your narrative and get clear on what you bring to the table and how you want to talk about your leading strengths and your core competencies. And it also helps you define and clarify your priorities and your values and think about the type of work-life flow you want to have. So that takes some self-reflection, but it also lays the groundwork for you to craft a story that you can be confident about. So take some self-reflection, but things will move so much more easily, I promise, if you give yourself some time to do this. You'll be able to ground yourself and truly own your message. Okay, so that is my tee up for the webinar. I do think you should do some groundwork before you delve into the tactical work of crafting your LinkedIn profile. I want to talk about why LinkedIn is so integral to your career management strategy. And this is whether or not you are in a job search, okay? So first of all, it is the most powerful platform for you to build an online brand and to have an online presence. And to connect with others professionally to both build, grow, and manage your network. It's essentially, as you see here, a virtual Rolodex. If you still have those Rolodexes on your desk, chances are a lot of contact information is outdated. So this is a place for you to have your professional portfolio of your work and to connect with others online. Next, At its essence, LinkedIn is a storytelling platform. It is not your resume online. And I think this is a common mistake people make. They cut and paste their resume online, and you miss a real opportunity here. So we're going to see a lot of examples today, but I think it's a unique opportunity, LinkedIn, when you to leverage it most effectively, for you to tell your story in a first person voice. It's much more interesting to read, it's easier to write, and it can come across as being much more compelling, especially when you compare it to that kind of third person buttoned up voice that a resume requires. So these are two distinct branding platforms. Your resume still needs to be in third person, but on LinkedIn, you can get a lot more personal and show a little bit of your character in how you write. Okay, so I highly recommend you use the first person voice. And then these last two things I'm just going to couple. So LinkedIn changed the game completely in terms of how companies, recruiters, executive search firms, headhunters are now able to identify talent. So we know companies of all sizes, from small startups to huge multinational firms, pay anywhere from thousands of dollars to millions of dollars to use LinkedIn as a sourcing tool. Okay, so as long as you have not completely buttoned up your privacy settings, by having a LinkedIn profile, you're essentially putting yourself in a global database that could come up for headhunters or recruiters who are sourcing both active and passive talent. And when I say passive talent, what I mean by that is, active talent would be that you are actually saying on LinkedIn, I'm open to new opportunities. I'm going to show you how to do that today. But passive talent are people who, are not seeking. They're just using it as a platform to have a professional presence. So it's really changed the game in terms of how effective companies are in sourcing. And for you, optimizing your profile is going to increase your chances of coming up in a search. And even if you're not job seeking, I always say to people, it's a great idea to get an idea of your market value. What kind of people are you attracting to your profile? What's the salary range? What are the opportunities that are being presented to you? So I've worked with many people who, once they optimize their profile, see a huge boost in terms of incoming inbound requests. Okay, so let me give you some stats to back that up. These are updated stats on who's using LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is going to turn 17 years old this year. It has already well passed the 500 million mark for membership. That is huge growth for a relatively young company. LinkedIn is available in 200 countries and territories and in over 24 languages. The bulk of its growth is global. I was speaking with a product manager a few years ago who said that pretty much the white collar workforce in the US is saturated. So most of LinkedIn's growth now is international. There are over 50 million company pages on LinkedIn that represent 167 industries. So if you have your company logos linked to your LinkedIn profile, we'll look at that later, that provides a nice visual element to your profile. Company pages are great for companies to engage with followers. I strongly recommend that if you are interested in a company, that you follow that company on LinkedIn as well. There are 110,000 plus school pages on LinkedIn. And I've made time at the end of this webinar to demo the Alumni tool that they feature on the MIT Sloan school page. Great for you to do some networking because you can literally go in and slice and dice alumni who attended MIT Sloan, MIT, even your another alma mater, and you can look and find them by where they live, where they work, keywords. It's a really fantastic tool. And it's still free. Everything I show today will be free. So none of what I'm going to show is going to be exclusive to those who pay the premium membership. And then the last stat, just to back up what I was saying earlier, all 5 Fortune 500 companies use LinkedIn to source talent. In fact, their primary revenue stream, 2/3 of LinkedIn's revenue, comes from the sale of its talent solutions product. That's the recruiter product that allows recruiters to use it and find talent. So LinkedIn, again, completely essential for a job seeker and really, I would say, an integral part of your career management strategy. Okay, so let's dive in to profile. Let me also start by saying Greg is going to be sending you an updated LinkedIn checklist, which is what I'm going to be going through now. So don't feel like you have to take copious notes. So you will get that after the session. So LinkedIn wants for all of its users to meet their terms for having what they call an all-star profile. They say that if you have an all-star profile, you're 27 times more likely to come up in a recruiter search, okay? So think of it in terms of a Google search, or if you Google something, you probably only look at the first page, maybe the second page of search results. So same principle here. If I'm a recruiter and I input a number of criteria in my search, then the results are gonna come up ordered in terms of who has a complete profile. And less than half of LinkedIn users actually meet these terms, so it can really be a leg up for you in the search game. And obviously, there's a huge benefit to LinkedIn wanting you to do this as well. It kind of feeds the robust data that they're able to give their clients. So what are these terms? Let's dive in, and then we're going to be looking at a lot of examples of LinkedIn profiles today. So the first thing is a professional looking photo. We're going to be looking at photos in the next slide. So 3 rules for photos. It should be recent, right? So I'd say if you haven't updated your LinkedIn profile in the past 2 years, make some time to do it. It does not have to be professionally taken, but here's my other 2 rules. It should be, you should be smiling or half smiling. You should look warm and friendly. Part of the reason that LinkedIn is gets so much more traction really than resumes, it's that visual component. Having a profile photo makes a difference. It gives someone insight into you. So first impressions count. So recent, looking for friendly or warm or approachable. And then the third piece of advice, have it just be from your neck up. High resolution quality. Make sure that it's just your face and that it's not, full body shot. So first of all, the reason for this is you appear in tiny little thumbnails throughout LinkedIn. So you want to just have your face. And then also, again, it's a really great introduction to you. As I said, you're telling a story. So make sure the person sees you. It really allows them to connect with you. Next term for an all-star profile is your headline. This appears right under your name at the top of your profile, that kind of business card, calling card look. Now, this is a really great way for you to capture the reader and give them an idea of what you do well. Most people will just have their job title because most people on LinkedIn are passive talent. Other 2 options that might be more interesting is to create a slogan that kind of gives it more of an idea about what you actually do. This is a good idea if perhaps your job title is not very specific. Or you could do the keyword-rich headline, where you have different keywords and you separate it by that up and down line, that pipe. Let's take a look at a few profiles. So first of all, this is Nick and Amy, great profile photos. They meet all the criteria that I mentioned earlier. So Nick's headline, global leader with expertise in finance and operations management. This is a good template if you want to do a slogan headline and you're not sure how to craft it. Start by saying what you do, digital strategist, product manager, global leader is a little ambiguous, but make sure that you frame what you do, and then it should be with expertise in X and Y. You pick the keyword, or with success in X and Y, okay? Or Amy has taken the tack of kind of being a little bit more specific and calling out elements of her unique value proposition with leveraging data and analytics to grow revenue, create partnerships, and improve the customer experience, okay? My prior webinar from 2018 had a bunch of other slogan-y type headlines if you want to go back and look at that. The other thing I want to call out here that's changed in the last couple years since I did my first webinar. LinkedIn has moved the profile photo over to the left side of the screen. And so you'll see Nick has this stock blue background. That is, he does not have what's called a background photo. Amy does. Now, remember what I said, you're telling a story. So part of what makes LinkedIn so much more appealing is to have some visual elements. So find an image that might align with the professional brand you want to have. Is there something that represents your industry or your functional role or gives a signal to who you are as a professional? I highly recommend you use the background. You can see probably just by this side-by-side comparison that Amy's is a little more interesting. It also signals to the reader that you've taken more care in crafting your profile and encourages them to keep scrolling down. So I would definitely work on finding a background photo. I always say if all else fails, maybe do the city skyline of where you live, or you could even, as alumni, do the MIT Dome or an image of the business school. Here's an example of the keyword-rich headline. Again, Amber and Marshall, good profile photos, neck up only. Both of them have utilized background photos and give you a sense of maybe who they are. So again, they're starting to tell a story. Now, the catchy kind of slogan-y headlines do not resonate with everybody. I know that. So I think the practical alternative is to use keywords that help illuminate your skills. Remember, the photo and headline, they're really important pieces of real estate since that is what's shown in search results. So if I'm using that recruiter product and I get search results, all that you see is that top part. So you want to because you want to persuade the reader to keep scrolling, take good care, profile photo, background photo, and think about your keyword. I should also clarify, you're not required to have a background photo in order to get to an all-star status. I just highly recommend it and wanted to point it out here. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into LinkedIn Live, and we're going to go through the elements of the next criteria of what it takes to have an all-star profile. And just quickly here, I'm going to start off with my profile because I'm going to show you how to do some editing. So I try and practice what I preach. I've got a somewhat recent photo. My background photo kind of speaks to what I do as a coach, helping people kind of live their best life. And then I did just want to point out, if you're on your profile and you're scrolling down, right here where I'm highlighting is where you can see all-star status. So you have this private to you dashboard, and that's where you're going to see your status. I think there's only 3 beginner, intermediate, and all-star. Okay, so you want to be going for that all-star status. Now, the next 2 items are location and industry. So your location is what appears right under your headline. As you see, I have Greater Boston area. You want to make sure that you choose the greater metropolitan area in which you live. So sometimes I'll see people with Cambridge, Massachusetts. Go bigger. Remember that this is how people are looking for you, and they're typically looking by the greater metropolitan area. To update your location, you're going to be in this top business card part, and you're going to hover over this pencil icon that you see me showing. And then you can scroll down. It will have you put in your zip code, and then it'll pull up the greater metropolitan area as well as the actual zip code. So see that I've done greater Boston area. Now, one thing I want to say, you should be putting your current location. However, if you are in a job search or a transition and you know that you are moving somewhere, go ahead and put your target location or your future location here. You will make a case for it and explain it in your summary section, okay? The next element is industry. Now this is actually hidden, so it's not shown on your profile. You edit it in this space, and then it will show up in the recruiter product. So industry, as I mentioned earlier, 167 industries on LinkedIn. Higher education makes the most sense for my industry. You have to choose one. I advise picking your current industry. However, if you are pivoting industry and you know that you are intentionally looking for something else, go ahead and put that target industry, but you need to tell your story and craft that narrative in your summary to explain why you're making that pivot, okay? So these 2 fields, location and industry, your current location and industry or your target location and industry, really important because again, if I'm a recruiter looking for talent, I'm going to typically filter on these 2 fields. Now we're going to go to summary, and I'm actually going to show you a few summaries, but let me just tee this up too. The summary is the heart of your profile. It is a really critical element. I always say that a strong summary statement speaks directly to your target audience. So maybe it's a potential employer or a recruiter. Maybe it's a potential client or an investor or just colleagues in your industry. You're gonna do best when you use the first person voice and you're conversational yet professional in tone. This is one of the reasons that people will prefer or often prefer reading a LinkedIn profile over, again, that third person voice that has to be part that's still expected in your resume. Now, I recommend that you answer 3 questions, ideally in 3 short paragraphs on your LinkedIn summary. First question you want to answer, who am I as a professional? So you want to anchor yourself with a professional identity so that the reader has an idea and some context on how you fit into the narrative that you're telling. What do I do well? Which is basically, how do I add value? So I recommend you highlight your leading strengths, and if it makes sense, perhaps share a specific short tangible example to make it real for the reader to understand how you've made contributions. The third question you want to answer is, what do I want to do next and why? Now that is obviously a question that a job seeker would answer. If you are doing a confidential job search, or if you're not even in the market, you might want to tie up your summary with something like, what motivates me in my work is, or I'm at my best when, or the work I love or the work I want to do more of is, I'm ideally suited to opportunities that, right? That might be a signal that you're open to opportunities without saying it outright. So those are the 3 questions I want you to answer. Who am I as a professional? What do I do well? What am I looking to do next and why? Let's take some examples and I'll show you some alums who have conveyed their story. So the first example I want to show is Julie Sidor. Julie also has a nice background photo, great profile photo, and her headline speaks to what she wants to do. Let's look at her summary. And I'll read these since we're on a webinar. So, a mission-driven healthcare marketing executive, there's the who am I. I bring expertise in product management and marketing to standard of care changing medical technologies. So she's teed up who she is and what she does well. Now comes her example. My sweet spot is in the critical in-between space with new technologies, connecting the dots between customers, development, and commercial teams to make great products happen. Most recently at Align, I led a team through the successful development and launch of the next generation Invisalign product for teens. After developing deep customer insights, I translated these needs into requirements and ensured we made the inevitable trade-offs during development while preserving critical value and gaining alignment at each milestone. Finally, I developed a launch package anchored with a compelling value message and a comprehensive strategy to drive adoption. So this paragraph was focused on that tangible example. So rather than just saying, I bring expertise in product management and marketing, she's actually shown where she's done it well, effectively. Third paragraph is her, what do I want to do next and why? Coming off 2 rewarding and challenging opportunities at startups, which unfortunately were short-lived due to organizational changes, I am currently seeking a strategic role in either product management or product marketing. Ideally, this would be in a smaller connected device or digital health company where I can marry my med tech evidence-based development experience with the consumer tech's agile, user-centered design approach. Okay, so this is really specific. And I will tell you that recruiters often will say to me, I like it when people tell me what they want to do. They're not expecting for me to figure it out. Okay, Julie was really specific. She did her groundwork. She was really clear on what she brought to the table and what was important to her. So she was actually saying, this is ideally what I'm looking at. And it actually paid off because she did have these 2 really quick roles that lasted 1 year and almost a year at startups. And so she was concerned about that being a red flag for any recruiter that might just look at her online. So I always say to people, eliminate the red flags by telling your story. And I think she's done this in a really concise and effective way. And she did get a job just before the holidays, and I spoke with her and I said, can I use your example? Because I think it's a nice way for you to show how people are getting really specific with what they're looking at. So now I can tell her she can update her summary. Okay, let's look at another example. I'm gonna look at Danilo. So Danilo works at AB InBev, and so he's chosen to show the Anheuser-Busch Budweiser truck in his background photo. And he's also got, again, a really nice profile photo. So I'm glad you're getting lots of good examples today. He also has used his current job title. And then because Global VP International Supply Chain at Anheuser-Busch InBev E2E Supply Chain is not enough, he went ahead and threw in 2 more keywords that can highlight his core competencies. Let's take a look at his summary. I'm a global supply chain executive who's delivered effective solutions to support business growth at AB InBev for almost 20 years. I joined the company in Brazil when it was a local brewery and have since grown it into a global leader as the company transformed into the biggest beer company in the world. I've lived in Brazil, the United States, and United Kingdom, driving results while working with countries like Mexico, South Africa, Australia, Colombia, and others. I'm at my best, taking on challenges that guide growth and tackle bold dreams. I'm recognized for building strong, diverse teams, working hard together, delivering great results, executing business transformation, implementing process improvement, and leading M&A integration. I finished my executive MBA at MIT Sloan School of Management in 2017, and I'm now better equipped to face more complex challenges as a global leader at AB InBev and guarantee we are delivering the best beer for our consumers. So this one, again, global supply chain executive, makes it clear from the front. Next, he didn't give a tangible example, but he definitely put in areas where he has been effective as a leader, and he also spoke to his global experience. And then his last piece was just kind of, because he's not in the market, he is talking about what he most recently did and what he's equipped to do. So it's kind of like positioning yourself for what am I prepared to do next. My last example, I'm going to use Shreya. So Shreya is, in comparison to Julie and Danilo, who are more senior in their careers, Shreya is just out of school, maybe 6 years. So she is, again, great background photo, good profile photo, and she's got that headline that has her current role because she is gainfully employed. So Shreya has just 2 succinct paragraphs that I think really nicely talk about and answer those 3 questions I mentioned. As a former management consultant, social entrepreneur, and now as Director of Provider Solutions at TytoCare, I've been focused on finding ways to humanize healthcare delivery. My areas of expertise include strategy, operations, business transformations, partnerships and business development, and go-to-market planning. I've successfully negotiated and launched TytoCare's first health plan partnerships while growing its health system footprint, identifying or commercializing new clinical use cases. At McKinsey & Company, I advised health plan, health system, and investor clients to gain a multifaceted perspective on the sector. Inspired by patient-focused work, I'm at my best on teams that are bringing healthcare's most innovative solutions to life. So she's clearly entrenching herself in healthcare and her expertise there. She was able to answer those 3 questions nicely and thoroughly, I think. So you read a short example and compare and contrast that to the other ones that you've seen. I think they're all effective, and I've worked with all 3 of these people. So they have definitely seen some good traction from these summaries. So that is your summary. The one thing I want to say is, you want this to be genuine. So if, with all my advice about use the first person, I have gotten some people who said to me, it just doesn't feel right, or it doesn't work for my industry, right? So I get that there's a difference if you're on Wall Street versus Silicon Valley. So my 2 cents, as with everything I say, because I only bring my perspective, is I highly advocate using the first person voice, but if it doesn't feel right to you, then don't do it. One thing I know though, is that summary statements are the hardest part of the LinkedIn profile to create because it requires some self-reflection and some discipline to really focus on your career so far, to take stock of yourself and what you bring to the table, as well as what's important to you. But I think it's a really essential exercise. And for good career management, I suggest you evaluate your summary statement on a yearly basis. It really is your opportunity to speak directly, to your target audience or to the reader and give, your pitch or your, kind of statement of purpose in a meaningful way. All right, so moving on, let's go down to work experience. So continuing on, I'm going to stay on Shreya's profile here. To have a complete profile or that all-star status, you want to have a current experience and 2 past experiences. Now, what I'll say is, if you're not employed, then you might not have a current work experience. Like, that's okay. If you get a compelling summary, then definitely that can make the case for you. So don't sweat it if you don't have a current job. Let's look at work experience. Again, I recommend that you continue the use of the first person voice here as well. I do not recommend cutting and pasting bullets from your resume. Tell the story just as you do in your summary statement. And also, the content about your roles should not be about, what you do, right? I'm responsible for, but it should be about what you do well. So content in the work experience should be about, value add, contribution, results, impact. So you'll want to provide some context if needed. You might want to think about, and we'll look at Shreya's here, using impactful words sometimes to make it clear what you did well, like successfully, effectively, proactively, efficiently, to maybe punch it up a little bit. Let me also mention this too. I read a lot of LinkedIn profiles that talk about experience. I'm an experienced leader. I have experience in XYZ. I try and coach people on placing the emphasis on expertise rather than experience, because just because you have experience in something doesn't mean you do it well. So you want to frame your summary and your work experience accordingly and really try and show that value add. If we look at Shreya and what she's done under her current role, you'll see some echoes of what she included in her summary statement. But what you do, frame up like the scope of your role perhaps, and then talk about your accomplishments or value add. So here she said, I'm the 16th hire to a Series C medical device company that's bringing a first of its kind consumer telehealth device to market. I've successfully identified, negotiated, and launched TytoCare's first health plan partnerships, building the Tyto device into our partner's value-based care delivery strategy. I've also grown our health system footprint through partnerships with more than 12 health systems and have launched 3 innovative programs leveraging new clinical applications in partnerships with industry leaders. So nice job. As you can see, it's tight. It's different than a bullet on a resume. You can talk more easily about yourself, honestly, in the first person, rather than, manage team of 10. You can say, it's great to be part of a high performing team, or it's a privilege to manage a high performing team. If you can't tell, I'm really big fan of the first person voice. All right, so the other thing I want to point out for work experience is you want to have the company page. So I talked about 50 million company pages on LinkedIn. And so hopefully you can have your current or former employer's logo link to your profile. So it provides, again, if you think about this being a visual portfolio, you start out telling the story with the background photo and the nice profile photo. You have a nice compelling first person summary statement. You're scrolling down, and as you can see, she's got all of her work experience logos, except for when she backpacked through 9 countries on 2 continents. And it's still kind of cool that she threw that in there too. It gives you a little insight to who she is. All right, last thing that is required for having a all-star profile, and then I can show you some extras. So you want to have your education listed as well. Again, I'm a fan of having the logo. You want to link up. That's what the school page is. You can link to the logo there. Shreya actually chose to continue the first person voice here by saying the focus of my MBA was on operations and entrepreneurial strategy with coursework across healthcare, global health, international development. Then she even has some accomplishments. So again, link to your education. The further you're out of school, the less you probably need to put content under there. You want to always be mindful of keeping your profile scrollable. So the education, and I skipped, I need to do education. The last thing is skills and endorsements. So you want to have at least 5 skills on your profile. LinkedIn gives you a maximum of 50. Now, this is a big change from what I said 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was saying, curate your skills, keep them nice and tight, and work on getting endorsements. So the big update here is that I don't think you need to concern yourself anymore with getting endorsements, because frankly, it became a big game and diluted the value of it. And in fact, it's come to my attention that LinkedIn has been testing actually hiding this whole section, much like industry is hidden from your profile. So they're looking at hiding it completely and just making it available only to those who use their recruiter product or the recruiter subscription. So I say now, just use this as a keyword dump, essentially, and make sure that all those things that you might want to be found for are on your profile. Of course, as you know, as long as they are skills that you actually have. Just to jump back to my profile quickly, and I'll scroll down to the skills section to show you that to add a new skill, all you have to do is add new skills. It will tell you here it says you can add 25 more skills, which means I probably have 25 skills in my profile now. It's given me suggestions that I can add. So I could just easily, add those on. Like maybe I'll just click higher education administration and I'll add that. Okay. You can also edit your skills, and I don't want to get too granular here because there's other things I want to cover, but you can pin the top 3 skills you want. Say you have 50 skills, but you really want 3 to be seen on your profile, as long as they are actually going to show this. Then you can, move things, move the order up, move it around. You can delete skills. I can scroll down. I can unpin a skill. Say I don't really even know why LinkedIn is a top skill, but say I want to, pin strategic planning instead. So that is now going to show on my profile, as you just see there. Okay. So that's skills and endorsements. All right, so that is the all-star fields that are required. Photo, headline, location, I'm looking at my notes, industry, summary, 2 past positions in a current position, education, and at least 5 skills, but I do recommend you use all 50 if you can. Let me bring it home by pointing out a couple other things that I highly recommend you do on your profile. Now, the first thing is I want you to customize your URL. If you're looking at my screen right now, you see I just highlighted up here in the top search bar. I have a customized URL, which means it says linkedin.com/in/Bryn Panee Burkhart, my name, okay? Most people don't have a customized URL, so that when you look at yours, go check yours out, it might have a bunch of numbers and characters after it. So let me show you. To edit your public profile URL, you want to go to your profile. Top right-hand corner, you'll see it says here, edit public profile and URL. Now, when I do this, then at top right-hand corner again, I can personalize my URL. It says here you have to have between 3 and 100 letters, and it says not to use spaces, but you actually can put a dash between what you can use dashes. I've seen that done a lot now. So I recommend that you go ahead, first name, last name. If you've got a common name, try the dash, middle initial, middle name, last name first, something, but you'll want to cut out all those crazy characters and letters that LinkedIn gives you when you create a profile. So the reason you want to do this, it actually increases your search engine optimization, meaning if someone Googles you or does a search for you, your LinkedIn profile is going to go up towards the top of those search results. So doing that is really great. Also, take this nice clean link with your name and put it on your email signature. People would rather look at your LinkedIn profile than your resume. So if you are reaching out to doing networking conversations or just trying to establish that presence, put your LinkedIn URL on your email setting, on your email signature. It's a nice clean link. Also, put it on your resume. You really don't need to have a physical address anymore on your resume. You just need to have a phone, an email, and your LinkedIn URL, because people are looking at that anyway. Next, I suggest, and actually I'm going to go back to my profile, go to your contact info and update your contact info. As you see, it's right here under my headline, contact info. When I click on it, I can enter my phone, my email. You want to make it easy for people to connect with you. So put your current information in your contact details. And then the last thing I want to recommend is, any other profile fields that might be relevant to your target. Take a look at them and add any that might be relevant. If I'm just click down here, adding profile sections, there's an opportunity to add licenses and certifications or volunteer experiences, or you can have things like patents and courses and projects. Now, let me be clear. I don't think you should stuff your profile full of every single thing you've done. Just choose what's relevant. LinkedIn's fastest growing audience is actually college students who don't have a lot of work experience. So something like test scores and courses might be really good for them, not so much for someone who's several years out of school. So take a look at the fields of LinkedIn, these fields, add any that are currently relevant to you and how you want to be known. And I would also consider maybe cleaning up and taking out entries that are no longer relevant to where you are at this age and stage of your career. So this really helps present a nice portfolio of your work and round you out as a professional. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to mention is rich media. So rich media are documents or photos, links, PowerPoints, videos, things like that, that show a nice visual component to your work. So if it's appropriate for you, you might consider adding some rich media. Here in my summary, I have a few links to some of my webinars. It can add credibility to your profile, so consider using it if it's relevant to you. So as we close, I'm going to try and highlight 3 more things. You probably noticed when I was showing my profile at the top that there's this interesting thing that says show recruiters you're open to job opportunities. So this is new. They're actually now adding, if you are open to new opportunities, you can have it right here in that top business card part if you choose. Or you can just choose to have it hidden and shown only to recruiters. So let me just show you. If you hit the get started, you all should have this on your profile, by the way. You can, add possible job titles that you'd like to be contacted for. You can add job locations. It defaulted to Greater Boston because that's where I have as my current location. I could also add Seattle or wherever else I might want to live or consider moving. And then this is really cool too. It's job types. So it's no longer just full-time jobs. Now you can actually say, I'm interested in remote work, contract work, part-time work, volunteer work. So that's a really nice way to signal that you are open to other opportunities. And then this is really critical because if you are concerned about confidentiality, you need to proceed with caution. I'll just be honest. You can make this open to all LinkedIn members. I don't know if anyone has seen. Some people are just saying, open to new opportunities right on your profile. Or you can just say only recruiters, which are people using their recruiting product. And it says right here, their disclaimer, we take steps not to show recruiters at your current company. You're open to new jobs, but we can't guarantee complete privacy. So, use your discretion there before you add this to your profile. But I think it's a important thing for you to see if you are, open to being contacted. It doesn't mean you're actively seeking, but that you're just open. All right, the other thing I wanted to mention, privacy settings. With all these social media breaches as of late, LinkedIn has done a lot in terms of updating its privacy settings. So I highly recommend that you go in on your profile. If you hover over that tiny little thumbnail over your own profile picture, that's why you should only have from the neck up. You will see that you can look at your settings and your privacy. And your privacy settings. So I'm not going to go through all of these right now. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I think this is really important for everybody to go back, take a look, and make sure you're comfortable with what you are putting online for others to see. And you can talk about how LinkedIn is using your data. Really important topic these days. All right, the final thing I wanted to do before turning it back over to Greg, and I'm so glad I'm going to have time to do it, I want to show you LinkedIn's Alumni tool. Really fantastic way for you to use this in your networking conversations. So I mentioned that there are 110,000 school pages on LinkedIn, and MIT Sloan and MIT have a school page. Let's go and take a look. So you start at that big top search bar at the very top, you type in MIT Sloan, and then the school page comes up. Okay, so now I'm on the MIT Sloan school page. If I scroll down just a little more, you'll see that on the left-hand side, there's this Alumni tab. So you click on Alumni, and you can do this with any school page, even if you didn't go there. But obviously, if you have a connection to Sloan, we're talking about networking, and I might also just encourage you to look at my Intelligent Networking webinar if you haven't already done so, because I go through the steps of network management, curating your network, mapping your network. This is one of the tools I suggest you use when you're trying to figure out who you might want to talk to in a networked job search. But anyway, now we're here on this Alumni tool, And you see I've got 39,755 alumni. Now, what this means is these are the people who have MIT Sloan under the education section of their LinkedIn profile. I always say most of them actually went here, but you know, sometimes people have taken a certificate or an exec ed course and then they put that under your education. That's not the place to do it, but just know that sometimes that captures anyone who's got their MIT Sloan under their education. Now what I can do, so cool, is I can look at them by where they live, where they work. Let me scroll a little bit more. What they do, what they studied, not as helpful, what their skills are, and how you're connected. Or you see this search box right up here that hopefully you can see I'm hovering my mouse over, a keyword, so important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know, I always say your second degree connections are really powerful if you have indeed curated your network and your first degree connections are people you know and trust, because then they can give you an introduction to their connections. So let's say, and I didn't even go to Sloan, so we're looking at someone who didn't even go here. I've got 62 first degree connections at Sloan. I've got 10,000 second degree connections. So you can see how powerful it is to look at your second degree connections. Now what I can do is I could even filter by the years they went to Sloan. I won't do that, but let's say I am going to move to, I can scroll down and see all these different locations or add a location. I want to see who's in Seattle. I'm going to go to Seattle. And now I've got 307 alumni who are second degree connections. So these are people who my first degree connection can possibly introduce me to these people. So warm leads, if you will. Now let's say I'm going to put in the keyword. I want to get to the decision makers. I'm going to put CEO. Every word in your LinkedIn profile is indexable and searchable. So by putting in CEO, I'm not necessarily guaranteeing that I'm getting all CEOs, but people who have CEO in their profile. So close to the decision makers, if not the decision maker. Okay, I've got 68 alums in the greater Seattle area who have CEO in their profile somewhere and who are second degree connections. And again, as with everything, you just start scrolling down and you're going to see the results. Okay, so looks like a lot of these people are in fact CEOs, and I can see my shared connections. So if I wanted to possibly get, you know, an intro to any of these people, I could take a look at, I'm just going to pick Todd here. So Todd, who's the co-CEO at Skykick, and I can say, okay, I've got 4 mutual connections. So any one of these people, because I know all 4 of them and would feel comfortable asking them to do me the favor of introducing me to Todd, I could go to any of them and ask, and I can message them right here. I actually recommend you use email. So if your first degree connection with someone, you should be able to see their email and their contact info. So I recommend not doing it within the in-mail system. It can be wonky, just easier to go to email. But any of these people could tee up an introduction. So as you think about your career management strategy moving forward, networking is really where it's at. At a certain age and stage, it's a network job search that's going to get you more closely aligned to work you want to be doing and work you're suited for. So this alumni tool is free as of now. So it's definitely a nice thing for everybody to know about. And I'm really glad I got to showcase it in this webinar. So I think I'm getting close to time. So I'm going to turn it back over to Greg. I hope that this helps. You know, overall, I want you to think about LinkedIn as being a portfolio of your professional work, one that tells a story and shows a little bit of your personality and character. This is really going to allow you to establish a more dynamic and hopefully compelling brand. So go forth and do good things with your LinkedIn profile. All right, Greg, I will turn it back over to you. And I'll stop. No, I won't stop sharing yet. Right?
Thank you, Bryn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And certainly as these platforms change and evolve, it's so great to have your expertise and for giving us this update. So we appreciate that. We do have some time for questions that were pre-submitted as part of the registration for today's session. So maybe we'll just jump right into those.
Great.
So Bryn, are there other ways that I can brand myself on LinkedIn in addition to just the profile?
Yes, and you know what? I'm jumping back into my slide deck, which I know you all will receive because I actually did a slide on this here, branding yourself on LinkedIn. So we obviously talked about the importance of optimizing your profile. Another thing and tip I would mention is utilize that status update field. So you have a homepage in LinkedIn, you probably have a feed that you see. Use it. Not a lot of people use it. It's greatly underutilized. Ideas to use it, share links, interesting professional links. You could pose questions, right? Does anybody have a suggested CRM system I could use for whatever? So putting out questions will often generate responses. You could highlight business travel. I'm heading to Seattle. I really am going to DC next month to present to the MIT Sloan Alumni Club. I could say something like, what do you want to hear about? So utilizing the status update field, or if you've got richer content to share, I highly recommend using the publishing platform. This is more like a blog, long form posts where you can share your own, your own thoughts. So if you've got some original content, your own thought leadership to share, definitely use the publishing platform. It will, and you probably see if you're looking ever at your LinkedIn feed, posts that are trending. So oftentimes trending posts are ones that come off of the publishing platform. And then if you're a little nervous about actually getting in there and, posting something, just engage with others' updates. So you could react or respond. That's a great way for you to start kind of getting out there professionally.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryn. And maybe one more question to close us out, but our viewers may have noticed when you were walking through your profile that you have the LinkedIn Premium membership. And so certainly you're in this tool all the time in your line of work. But for the rest of us, what's the value of having that premium membership for LinkedIn?
Great question. So first of all, I do not recommend that you do a premium membership until your profile is in good shape. So definitely make sure that you optimize your profile before you avail yourself and pay the money to upgrade to a premium status. And also when you do it, you can have, when you are ready, you can test it free for a month so you can see how much traction you get from it. But in anticipation of that question, I actually did another slide just to make it easier for everybody. So a lot of employer accounts are, premium accounts are paid for by employers. That's why I have a premium business account for all these things that you'll see here. But the advantages of using LinkedIn Premium Business. Okay, so if you are going to upgrade, here's the advantages. You get to see who's viewed your profile. And this can be really interesting if you're in a job search and you're, kind of doing some networking, you're sending out emails and you're not really sure what the response rate is. You can see who's viewed your profile for up to 90 days. So and another point to that, when you're looking at your privacy settings, I recommend that you let people see that you're looking at them. It can't hurt. And in fact, years ago, we actually had someone who got a job that way. She looked at someone's profile and he messaged her saying, he saw she was a student at Sloan and was interested in talking to her. So definitely be open about your looking if you're looking. Another really important advantage is, this is why I have the premium subscription, is that I can look at unlimited profiles. What LinkedIn has done now in an effort to push everybody to paid subscriptions is at a certain point, and they don't give you an exact number, but at a certain point, you hit a commercial use limit and are blocked from looking at anyone else's profile until the month is over. And that's really tough. I actually was working with an alum last week who's already hit her commercial use limit, and it wasn't even, midway through January. So that's a real advantage. You can use, the profiles. And again, if you watch my Intelligent Networking, you're going to want to be using LinkedIn to engage in conversations and do career mapping and look at your second degree connections. The last couple of reasons you might want to get a premium business account, you can send in mails and you get a guaranteed response. So if you have no connection to someone, if they're a third degree connection or more, then the only way you might be able to reach them is by just kind of doing a cold email. If you don't get a response, you get credited back that email, so that's great. And then the other advantage is there's some increased search capabilities on, for example, the job board. You're actually able to filter down a little bit more, I think, on salary, things like that. So you get more search filters on the job board. Those are the advantages of premium business. It is worth it if you're in a job search, but I would not do it until you optimize your profile.
Thank you, Bryn. I want to thank all of our viewers for joining us. To keep this conversation going over social media, please use the hashtag #SloanieChat. Following this event, you should see a survey on your screen. Please fill that out and let us know your feedback on this session. We will also send a follow-up email with a link to the recording, the slides, and then some of the other links that Bryn mentioned as well. So as always, you can reach out to us at sloanalumnionline@mit.edu. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great new year.